Jon Jones is great, but Jon Jones isn't the greatest of all time. Okay? Let me just make that clear before I get into this. Jon Jones is great. He is a great fighter, and he is one of the greatest of all time. But I can never consider this guy the greatest for a large variety of reasons and decisions and actions that he has done throughout his career. Now, I'm not going to waste too much of your time, so we're just going to get straight into it and talk about the first critique that I have for Jon Jones, and it's resume. Jon Jones, on paper, has the best resume of all time. I'm not going to dispute that, but if we're looking at a GOAT case, okay, why are we limiting ourselves at just looking at it on paper? We should be applying context onto these things, okay? Think about a lot of the guys that Jon Jones beat when he won the light heavyweight title and he ran through the division in the early 2010s. Lyoto Machida, Rashad Evans, Rampage Jackson, Shogun Rua, okay? Great names, fantastic names. But a lot of these guys were getting on a bit. Now listen, they weren't like 40 yet, okay? They weren't. This wasn't like when Anthony Smith was knocking out Rashad Evans, okay? A lot of these guys were still top level fighters, but they weren't in their prime. A lot of them were either at the very edge of their prime or were just about leaving it. Think about Rampage in 2011, okay? This guy's like prime was about 5 years before them, 4 years before them, 2007. Okay, John beat TRT Vitor, which impressive, but this was Vitor just coming off the TRT. Okay, and also this is a pretty common critique, but a lot of these guys were just oversized middleweights. Okay, think about the size of these guys. What, they were 5'11"? Think about your average light heavyweight now. Jan Blachowicz is like 6'3". Carlos Ulberg is like 6'4". Jamal Hill's like 6'3". Yuri's like 6'3", 6'4". Okay? These guys were oversized middleweights, great fighters, and still extremely impressive wins. But this, there's asterisks to these wins, okay? There's asterisks that we have to put on these wins, okay? We can't just look at it on paper. Now, if we move a bit forward into Jon Jones's light heavyweight reign, first of all, I'm not going to bring up the Gustafsson fight. I personally do think Jon won the fight, or, I definitely don't think it was a robbery. But we move on to when Jon Jones was meant to fight Dan Henderson, okay? Dan Henderson would end up pulling out of this fight and Chael Sonnen will come in short notice, okay? That all sounds great. That sounds amazing, Chael Sonnen pops in short notice. He's from middleweight. He's undersized. He's not the level of fighter of Jon Jones. He's got no training camp, okay? He's literally came in last minute. But Jon Jones says, nuh-uh, I ain't prepared for Chael Sonnen. Now, when the fight would happen, yes, Jon would destroy Chael Sonnen in a round. But, well, no, he wouldn't actually because Chael's undefeated, but it's not the point. But the thing is, did Jon make the right decision here? I guess, technically, smart decision, short notice, whatever. But if we're talking about who the GOAT is, this is the type of stuff that we gotta bring up. He was unwilling to fight a middleweight who just everyone knows wasn't on the level of fighter of him on short notice. It's something to bring up. Now I want to move on to Jon Jones's last light heavyweight reign, which, listen, 3 title defenses, okay, which, sounds good, but let's really look at how those went. He was unable to finish Anthony Smith. Fucking Anthony Smith. Anthony fucking Smith, okay? Then he'd fight Thiago Santos. And listen, this fight was not a robbery. I think that was a big myth. But this was such an unimpressive performance against a guy who literally had one leg the entire fight. And then Jon was gifted a win against Dominic Reyes, okay? Everyone will talk about how, you know, John Jones is undefeated because the Matt Hamill fight don't count. Shit, in my opinion, him winning against Reyes, that evens it up, okay? That evens it up. You know what I'm saying? So he isn't undefeated because everyone's in agreement that he lost the Reyes fight. Okay, everyone will agree with that, but still claim he's undefeated. He's not undefeated. Now, this is the only fight I do think Jon Jones has lost. But that's not a good look, man. Look at Dominic Reyes since then. And I know we all like Dominic Reyes, okay? But look at him since then. When I 0-4 and then has picked up wins against Dustin Jacoby and Anthony Smith. Like, how seriously do we take that? Like, come on now. And then we move on to the ducking. Jon Jones would take 3 years to bulk up to heavyweight. Okay, and you're probably thinking, you know, 3 years, you know, fair enough, he's trying to do a healthy bulk. This guy, it does not take 3 years to get fat as fuck. That's what he came in as. That's what he came in as a heavyweight. Fat as fuck. Out of shape. Fat, flabby, beer belly, lean gut, whatever you want to say, is what Jon Jones had, okay? And he's slightly more defined now. It took this guy 3 years to get fat, and as soon as Ngannou was gone, apparently he was fat enough. Apparently that's when the bulk ended, okay? So, in my opinion, he did duck Ngannou, and I do think Ngannou would beat him. And then we look at the Tom Aspinall situation, okay? Literally refusing to fight the #1 contender. He's even talked about fighting fucking Derek Lewis instead and vacating his belt to fight Alex Pereira. Now, let's not even talk about how he refused to fight DC at heavyweight. DC was much better at heavyweight, by the way. He refused to fight DC at heavyweight ever. We can also talk about that. And then the final thing. The guy has failed multiple drug tests. I want you to think about Lance Armstrong, okay? Lance Armstrong was known as the greatest, you know, bicyclist or whatever you want to say of all time. As soon as this guy tested positive, he wasn't took serious anymore. Think about TJ Dillashaw at bantamweight and go or had an argument. Tested positive, wasn't took serious anymore. For some strange fucking reason, that just doesn't apply to Jon Jones. Everything I've stated could be thrown out the window and we could just have the drug tests, and that should be enough to not have him as your GOAT. But for some reason we ignore it, and it's like an unwritten rule you have to apply this guy. Okay, Jon Jones has had a very fraudulent career, a great career still with great fantastic wins, but Jon Jones is no GOAT of mine.